Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we are going to talk about the introduction to management, and we are going to see what is management. But to tell you what management is, I would like to tell you a story which all of us have grown up with. And you must have heard about that story, that is about hare and tortoise. But I am going to change these characters to rabbit and turtle. And please ask me why I am changing this to their cousins, because I may forget. Okay, we know this story, rabbit and turtle. The turtle make fun of rabbit, rabbit make fun of turtle. He said that you are very slow, and he said that you can't even go where you want to go, you are so slow. But turtle said that I can reach my place wherever I want to go. I know where to go, even though I may be slow, but I know my place to go, and I've reached there. But rabbit kept making fun of him. So we know that turtle challenged the race to race him, and eventually they decided about the route, and they had a start line and a finish line and so on, and they ran. And we know that the rabbit ran very fast initially, but then he saw that he felt that he is miles away from turtle, so he just thought that let's have a little rest, and he rested under the shade of tree and soon fell into sleep. And then what happened was that turtle, he kept plodding and eventually saw that rabbit was sleeping, and he left him, and he reached to the finish line, and he was a clear winner. The moral of the story goes that slow and steady wins the race. So if you are steady and consistent, even though you are slow, you will win the race, provided the person whom you are competing with, although may be fast, but he's careless and he is complacent, he doesn't want to change. So this is the moral of the story. But the story doesn't end over here. We are going to see some spin off this stories. We see that for management purpose, we have some extra version of these stories. What happened was that rabbit had some soul searching. He thought, why I have not been able to win this race, although I am quite fast. But he said that because he was overconfident, he may be careless, and he didn't care much about the things. So he challenged the turtle this time, and he said that let's run again. Turtle agreed. Now this time they ran again, and of course the rabbit was now knowing that he doesn't have to stop anywhere, and he went from start to finish and won the race by miles. And we can say that the moral of the story is that if you are fast and reliable, you will win. And will win the slow and steady. The story doesn't end over here again. Now the turtle thought about it. The turtle thought that, well, given this format, he cannot really win the rabbit, because rabbit is of course fast and he cannot win him. So he said to him that, well, why don't we have another race? he said that we ran 2 times on the south side, why don't we run towards the north side? He said that you see that mountain, we will go to the foothill of that mountain. So that is our finish line. Rabbit agreed. Rabbit said that, well, fine, let's go. So they had a race again, and again the rabbit was overconfident. He ran very fast, and when he was going to reach to the foothills, he saw that there was a broad river which was coming, the stream of that was coming from the top of the mountain, and it was having a big at the bottom, there was, at the foothills, there was a broad river there, and the finish line was of course on the other side of the river. So he was stuck there, and then the tortoise, he kept coming and coming and coming, and finally he reached the bank, and then he swam into the river and went to the finish line and won again. So we can say that the moral of the story is that identify your core competencies, and then change the playing field. Change the playing field to suit your own competencies, own competencies, core competencies. But story doesn't end over here as well. Now this time both rabbit and tortoise or turtle became friends, and they said to each other that why don't we run together, and this time we can see how we do perform. So they ran again toward the north side, and this time what happened was that the rabbit carried the turtle on its back, and rabbit ran and took him to the bank of the river, and from there onward the turtle took over and he carried the rabbit to the other side of the bank of the river, and they finished the line together. And this time they were quite happy. It was more satisfying experience, and we can say from the moral of the story that by harnessing each other competencies, each other core competencies, we can do much better. Even though we may have our own core competencies, but individually as an individual, but we may have in different areas, we may be not that good, but the other person may be good. So if we work as a team, we can do better. So this is the story of rabbit and turtle. We can say in the first race, the rabbit was ineffective, although efficient. He ran fast, but he didn't reach the goal. Whereas the turtle was inefficient but effective, because it reached the goal. Because he reached the goal. In the second, we can say that rabbit was both effective and efficient. In the third one, we can say that, well, Turtle finished it because he had a core competency. So we can say that Turtle did a good job. But still, it took him a long time. In the fourth story, in the fourth episode, we can say that the both did well, and they were both were effective and efficient. As you can see, in the third episode, Turtle did a good job, but he was slow, and again the rabbit was ineffective because he didn't reach the goal. So maybe Turtle finished the job in 9 hours and rabbit even didn't finish it. Here they both finished their job in just 2 hours. So you can see that is management. Management is a process of achieving your goals effectively and efficiently with and through people. That is management. Management is a process of getting things done, achieving goals efficiently and effectively, with and through people. So this is a nice story of management. You may ask why I changed this from hare to rabbit and tortoise to turtle. Well, from tortoise to turtle, I told this story to my daughter, and she said, "Baba, you are not right. The tortoise doesn't have this competency of swimming. Tortoise actually drowns." So then I said, okay, let's change it to turtle. And here I thought that let's change the rabbit from hare to rabbit. It's look nice. So rabbit and turtle, we have a new story there. All right, so let's look at today's lecture. It's a just introduction to management. We will be learning some concepts about what managers do, and why do we study management, what managers do. We have different approaches. We have functional approach, we have roles approach, and we can see also their competencies which are needed to be an effective management. Also we will see some levels of management and how these functions differ according to the levels of management, and finally we will look at some contemporary issues. So these are the learning outcomes. Tell who managers are and where they work, define management, explain why it's important to study management, describe what managers do, and describe the factors that are reshaping and redefining management. And this, we can say, these are the contemporary issues. Tell who managers are and where they work. The Managers, of course, work in organizations. And what is an organization? An organization is a deliberate arrangement of people brought together to accomplish a specific purpose. So we have some keywords here. Some deliberate arrangement is there, some structure is there, people are there working, they are helping each other, and they are achieving some specific purpose or goal. So we have these common characteristics of organizations. We have goals, we have people, and we have some kind of a structure. As you can see, it doesn't have to be a physical structure of an organization where you have buildings and so on. There are virtual organizations also, but these are the things which always will be there. There will be goals, there will be people working, and there will be some kind of a structure, some managerial structures there who will be taking charge and getting the things done through people. So we can say we have goals, we have people, and we have some kind of a structure.
And there are examples where if the three of them are not present at the same time, the idea cannot move forward. For example, many people have goals, but they don't have a team to do the job, or they don't have the proper structure to do it. Some people have goals and even the team, but they don't have the proper structure, and they are lost in the process of managing the job. So I think that is going to be an important combination.
So these three ingredients are important to have an organization to achieve the goals. Exactly. So we need three things: goals, people, and structure. Now, how are managers different from non-managerial employees? Well, it's just common sense. Non-managerial employees are not responsible for overseeing others' work. They work directly on their tasks. Whereas the managers, they direct and oversee the activities of others, and they may have duties not related to overseeing others. We can say, but mainly they are directing and overseeing the activities of others. That's why they are called managers. Define management. We have already defined management. It is the process of getting things done effectively and efficiently with and through people. And we have seen that the case of the turtle and rabbit, that how they were effective together when they used each other's core competencies and they achieved their goals. Effectiveness is doing the right things. There is another way to say effectiveness is doing the right things, which means that they are achieving their goals, and efficiency is doing things right. So this looks confusing, but if you just put some thought over it, it makes sense. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Doing the right things means having the right goals and trying to achieve them, whereas efficiency is related to doing things right, which means that with less and less of input you try to have more output so that you are more efficient. If we may see over here, efficiency means using less of resources, low wastage, and effectiveness is achievement of the goals. So higher attainments of goal, you are highly effective, and having lower usage of resources, you are more efficient. The next topic is why it's important to study management, and we can say that there are two reasons given to it. We all have a vested interest in improving how organizations are managed. We would like to see that the organization flourish and keep functioning, and another is that eventually perhaps some of you might become managers, or definitely when you will work in the organizations you will be managed. So it is important to study management to know how the managers take decisions, how some organizations become very good in competition and others lose. We would like to have some good ideas about management, and this course is just giving you some introduction to this these fundamentals of management.
So maybe in the first item, vested interest, we could have an example where people, it's called water cooling talks. So people get together in private setting over coffee or a tea, and they always say, if this has been done this way, it would have been better. And they either criticize or sometimes they provide suggestions. And in those social settings, we have people talking about the way things are running. So that's why the first item is quite obvious.
And of course, we all have interests in the organizations. Maybe, for example, in Sultan Qaboos University, young parents may have interest in the organization, even though their children are not going to Sultan Qaboos University, but they will like to see that this organization flourishes, and they would like to see that their children graduate from this prestigious university. So let's describe what managers do. And we can look at in three ways. We can look from functional approach, what functions they perform. We can look from the roles they do, and we can look from the competencies and skills needed for doing effective management. So first of all, we will look to these four functions approach. The functional approach says that managers use or employ these four functions to be effective in the organizations. They do plan, they organize, they lead, and they control. Now, a little bit of history. There was a person named Henry Fayol. He was a mining engineer. He was a French mining engineer, and he, in his organization in the mining industry, he observed very keenly, and he saw that he came up with five functions. He said the people, to be an effective manager, these are the functions which they have to perform. The managers, they have to do planning, they have to do organizing, they have to command and coordinate and control. So they have command, coordinate, and control was another three functions were there. But nowadays, all people have agreed on these four functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. What are these functions? Well, planning is setting up the goals and deciding how best to achieve them. And if you understand what is planning, it is the setting the goals and deciding how best to achieve them, then the other three functions are just related to achieving those goals. So organizing is basically allocating human and non-human resources to achieve the goals. Leading is influencing and motivating people to achieve the goals, and controlling is monitoring and regulating the activities of people so that they can achieve their goals. And if I may repeat again, planning is the management function that involves setting goals and deciding how best to achieve them. And this function also includes considering what must be done to encourage necessary levels of change and innovation, because if they don't, in their planning, if they don't think about changing and innovating, of course, they will be left behind, they will be driven out from competition. So it's very important for organizations to keep changing and innovating. We will take the example of a production manager, operation and maintenance of power stations and substations. He may set the goals. There may be technical goals, power stations availability. He wants to have 95% available, all the generating units. He would like to see the substation availability 99%. Maybe he has to build the budgets, construct the budgets. Human resource development program has to be done. Personnel accidents and sickness programs have to be done. Refurbishment of old units program should be there. If there are units which are getting old, their efficiencies are going down, they may be refurbishment of old units program could be there. And maintenance programs, these are all plannings. And of course, this is just one example here. As a manager at the top management level, you might have some commercial goals. You want to have certain market share, certain you may have financial goals, some rate of return, etc. So there are technical goals, there are financial goals, commercial goals, social goals, etc. All these goals could be there in the planning function. Project plans, etc. Now let's look at the organizing function. Again, I go back to the original definition of going back to the planning. Planning is setting the goals and deciding how best to achieve them. Then as I said earlier, all these functions are related to each other, and specifically it goes back to planning. So organizing is the management function that focuses on allocating and arranging human and non-human resources so that the plans can be carried out successfully. Through the organizing function, managers determine which tasks are to be done, how tasks can be best combined into specific jobs, and how jobs can be combined into various units like departments that make up the structure of the organization. And staffing jobs with individuals who can successfully carry out plans is also part of the organizing function. Sometimes staffing is considered as a separate function, but this function, staffing function, is also a part of leading, because leaders select the right people, and also it is part of controlling as well, because preliminary control includes selecting the right people. So this means that these functions are not mutually exclusive, but they are actually overlapping functions. Here we go to the example of organizing. We may have an organizational structure here of a production manager of operation and maintenance of power stations and substation. He has operations areas and maintenance people and administration. This structure may not be working very well because you want to be effective and efficient. He may have to reorganize, and this may be a reorganization, one type of reorganization where you have a production manager and there is operational technical staff and administration and finance staff, and then there are managers area A, area B, area C, and under them operation and maintenance staffs are there. So this is one way of reorganization. Of course, there may be several other ways to do the things, but this is telling us that as managers you might have to reorganize or make the new structures. The next function is leading function, and again, as I said, go back to the planning. Planning, you set the goals and deciding how to achieve them. Leading is then the management function that involves influencing others to engage in the work behaviors necessary to reach organizational goals. Leading includes communicating with others, helping to outline a vision of what can be accomplished, providing directions, and motivating organizational members to put forth the substantial effort that is required. Now, of course, leading is then communicating with people. It is also motivating, influencing them to achieve the goals. Again, we see the example of production manager, power stations and substations. We have communication is important, regular weekly meeting with the managers in the organizations, regular weekly information meetings with the personnel, social events, etc. Social events are very important also. Many organizations, they have picnic events and they have retreats where the staff with their family members, they go there, enjoy maybe in 5-star hotel, and there they do some working, they do some plannings together, and this is the way to influence and motivate people. Normally the CEOs and the top management, they try to interact with their lower staff, lower management, and have an informal ways to motivate and get their ideas across. Finally, controlling is the again you go back to the planning is setting the goals and deciding how best to achieve them. Then controlling is a management function aimed at regulating organizational activity so that actual performance conform to the expected organizational standards and goals. So you are trying to achieve the goals again.